And TrueCar shows the range of prices people in my area actually paid for the same car, so I know if I'm getting a great price. This is how car buying was always meant to be. This is TrueCar.
David, you have one of the worst cavities I have ever seen. Okay, have a good day.
Aren't you gonna fix it?
Well, I'm not a dentist, I'm a dental monitor. I just tell you when you have a bad cavity.
That's bad. Lunch?
Oh, yes.
Where are you going?
Why monitor a problem if you don't fix it? That's why free credit monitoring isn't enough to protect you. At LifeLock, we not only alert you to identity threats. If you have a problem, we'll spend up to $1 million on lawyers and experts who'll work to fix it. LifeLock. Try 60 days risk-free using promo code CAVITY.
Get away. Get home away. Get home away from all those FYIs and BCCs. Get home away from it all. Book the whole house at homeaway.com.
At our Super Tuesday sale, save up to 70% on almost everything. With suits, just $1.99. All Traveler shirts, 3 for $99. Traveler twill pants, 2 for $99. Plus an extra 40% off all clearance. Only at Joseph A. Bank.
Is where you should always fit in. So trust Angie's List to help find top-rated pros for quality work, because your home is where our heart is.
If you have moderate to severe rheumatoid arthritis like me, and you're talking to your rheumatologist about a medication, this is Humira. This is Humira helping to relieve my pain and protect my joints from further damage. Humira has been clinically studied for over 18 years. Humira works by targeting and helping to block a specific source of inflammation that contributes to RA symptoms. It's proven to help relieve pain and stop further joint damage in many adults.
Humira can lower your ability to fight infections, including tuberculosis. Serious, sometimes fatal infections and cancers, including lymphoma, have happened, as have blood, liver, and nervous system problems, serious allergic reactions, and new or worsening heart failure. Before treatment, get tested for TB. Tell your doctor if you've been to areas where certain fungal infections are common, and if you've had TB. Hepatitis B, are prone to infections, or have flu-like symptoms or sores. Don't start Humira if you have an infection.
Talk to your doctor and visit Humira.com. This is Humira at work.
A stunning upset in the United Kingdom's general election Thursday, with British Prime Minister Theresa May's Conservative Party losing its majority in Parliament. The vote coming just days after Britain's third terror attack in less than 3 months, putting national security front and center in the campaign's final week. Wall Street Journal editorial page writer Sohrab Ahmari joins us from London. Welcome, Sohrab. So Theresa May is going to try, despite being in a minority now, going to try to form a government anyway with the help of the Irish unionists. Is she going to be able to pull that off?
Well, the Queen has authorized her to try to do that. Obviously, now the ball is in her court to be able to, first of all, get a firm commitment from the Democratic Unionist Party, this small Northern Irish unionist party, and then to be able to both convince them and then to be able to convince her fellow Tories that she's the person to lead the party, and then it all goes to Parliament. So it's going to be a mess, and whatever government emerges, and there's still a good chance that Theresa May will remain Prime Minister when the dust settles, will be fragile and weak and vulnerable.
Yeah, she went into this election, she didn't have to call it until 2020. She went into this thinking, okay, I'll get a much bigger majority because I got a 20-point lead over Labour. Jeremy Corbyn isn't even popular with Labour voters, all of Labour voters, so this is the perfect time to strike. It seemed, I guess, a reasonable bet, but how can she stay as Prime Minister and leader of the party after she led them into an election against Corbyn and lost seats?
Well, that's why I think the Tories are actually notoriously brutal, the activist base of the party, once they feel that a Labour leader is ineffective.
Right.
So unlike the Labour side, which for years had hung on to Jeremy Corbyn, who was seen as unelectable, but now he feels triumphant, the Tories tend to be pretty ruthless with leaders that they feel that aren't working out. So I wonder if, I imagine, and in fact I'm certain that the processes are underway to try to think of alternatives, whether that means bringing George Osborne back to put forward a more traditionally pro-growth, limited government type Toryism, as opposed to Theresa May's vision of quote-unquote working-class Toryism that emphasizes communitarian solidarity and goes after the big bad business practices and so forth.
George Osborne,
or could it be Boris Johnson? I don't know. It's all very fluid.
George Osborne was the Chancellor of the Exchequer under David Cameron. Now he's out of Parliament, and even a practicing journalist, God forbid. I don't know if he wants to get back into politics. But so how did she lose a 20-point lead?
Well, I think there's a couple of factors. One is I think that the Brexit focus that her government put forward had become tiresome, in the sense that Brexit was in some ways a settled question, and yet the focus of her government was, we are going to be tough in Brexit negotiations, whereas where she came short was putting forward a vision of, okay, what would a post-Brexit Britain look like? And to the extent that she put forward a vision, as I mentioned, it was this idea put forward by a clever but now seemed to be a discredited campaign guru named Nick Timothy, who suggested that the Toryism should return to a kind of pre-Thatcher era of emphasizing social solidarity, being okay with raising taxes, and all about regulation. In fact, when government needs to step in when business and markets fall short.
All right, we had
that vision
didn't work.
Didn't really find buyers.
We got the terror attacks in the last 2 weeks. What role did that play? Theresa May had been Home Secretary, which is the equivalent of Homeland Security Secretary here. Did that help or hurt her?
Well, I spoke with party insiders ahead of the election, and they were so confident that the fact that the country seems to be facing, frankly, a low-grade Islamist insurgency with 3 attacks in 72 days, that would help her, because for all her other shortcomings, she put herself forward as the steady hand. She wouldn't engage in debates about these issues of security, precisely because it allowed her, I think she thought, to stay above the fray and appear like the prime minister, whereas let the rest of them duke it out in these petty forums and petty debates. And so all of that taken together, I thought, and they thought, would ensure a victory for her, because she was facing a guy who frankly calls Hamas and Hezbollah friends, who wants to disarm Britain's national security apparatus, who doesn't believe in the shoot-to-kill policy when there are terrorists on the streets and so forth. So given that, they thought that she would do well with it. And maybe the reason she didn't do as bad as it could have been was because of the national security shortcomings of Corbyn.
All right. Well, one of the lessons here is you cannot take voters for granted. They often surprise you. So still ahead, amid the Comey furor on Capitol Hill, the GOP fights to keep its agenda on track. So could Senate Republicans unveil their health care bill as early as next week?
Hi.
We're looking for insurance.
Ooh, let's see who's free.
Is your insurance agent trapped?
Jerry?
Probably. When agents work for only one company, their options are simply limited. But a Trusted Choice independent agent is free to shop around to find you a better deal. Free to do what's right for you. Find an agent at trustedchoice.com.
Golden Corral now opens for 7-day brunch. French toast, omelets, a mashed potato volcano? Nice. We have over 150 choices, but the only one that matters is yours. Golden Corral, your choice rules.
When you schedule with Safe by Autoglass, you get a text when we're on our way. You can see exactly when we'll arrive. I'm Micah with Safe Flight.
Thanks for coming. It's right over here.
Giving you a few more minutes for what matters most. Take care.
Safe Flight Repair, Safe Flight Replace.
That's right, keep rocking. SiriusXM's free listening event might be over, but you can turn us back on with packages starting for a limited time at just $5.99 a month plus fees. Just visit SiriusXM.com/GetSXM to keep hearing all the things that make you love taking the long way home. So visit SiriusXM.com/GetSXM or call 1-844-479-6669 to turn us back on and up.
My name is Pam. I'm 51 years old. When I was diagnosed with pneumococcal pneumonia, it was huge for everybody.
She just started to decline rapidly.
I was rushed to the hospital. My symptoms were devastating. The doctor said, Pam, if you'd have waited 2 more days, you would have died. If I'd have known that a vaccine could have helped prevent this, I would have asked my doctor or pharmacist about it.
If you love your dad, give him a meal that he'll truly appreciate. The Omaha Steaks Father's Day gift is filled with over $200 worth of great food for just $59.99. That's 70% off only on this special offer. The Omaha Steaks Father's Day gift includes either Omaha Steaks 4 juicy, tender 6-ounce filet mignons or a huge 30-ounce T-bone steak. Plus, you'll get 4 gourmet jumbo franks, 4 premium ground beef sliders, 4 creamy potatoes au gratin, and Omaha Steaks signature steak seasoning. Dessert is a decadent 2-pound New York cheesecake. Your order will be delivered straight to your home or the destination of your choice for the perfect gift. As a special thanks from us to you, if you order right now, we'll include 4 more premium Omaha Steaks ground beef sliders free. That's 8 total. The Omaha Steaks Father's Day gift, over a $200 value for just $59.99. Give Dad a gift he can appreciate. Give him the Father's Day gift from Omaha Steaks today.
Across America, premiums are skyrocketing, insurers are fleeing, and the American people are paying much more for much worse coverage. Obamacare is in a total death spiral, and the problems will only get worse if Congress fails to act. Obamacare is dead.
President Trump Wednesday urging Congress to act on plans to repeal and replace Obamacare as Senate Republicans continue to hash out their bill behind closed doors. Majority Leader Mitch McConnell reportedly told the president this week that a vote could come by July 4th. Pressure is mounting on the GOP as Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield announced this week that it will pull out of the healthcare exchanges in many Ohio counties next year, citing growing uncertainty over the law's future. We're back with Dan Henninger, Kim Strassel, and Joe Rago. So, Joe, how much progress are the Senate Republicans making behind the scenes?
They're making a lot of progress in the sense that they've studied this issue more than any other. Everybody says they're working as well together as they ever have.
Wow, that's saying something.
That's progress.
It's a fractious bunch.
And look, at this point, they know what the policies are. They know what the trade-offs are. It's time to make a decision.
So, the trade-offs are all geared from McConnell's point of view. You get to 50 votes.
Exactly.
Okay. Now, what are the problems here, the disputes here about how rich to make the subsidies for the insurance on the exchanges, how much, what to do with Medicaid in particular, how much authority you give back to the states, and how much money you pay in Medicaid going forward from the federal government, and then how many of the taxes in Obamacare to cut.
Right. I mean, it's all about kind of turning those dials. How long of an off-ramp do you have? Do you maybe preserve some of the taxes in order to make the subsidies more generous? Ultimately, I think Leader McConnell, he's going to make a prudential decision about what can get to a majority, put it on the floor, have a vote, have accountability. And what he's been telling members is we can either vote for this, defend a success, or we can apologize for a failure. And if we're going to fail, you're going to have to produce a body. If you're going to kill this, we're going to have a vote.
You're going to have a vote. And Kim, if McConnell, I think, is also telling his members, look, if we don't do something on this, Obamacare is going downhill, sliding. We may end up having a debate among ourselves in the next year or so about how to bail out these exchanges. And if we make this an issue in 2018 and 2020, what's going to happen is the Democrats, if they get power next time, they're going to make the same mistake as Obamacare again. They're going to go with single payer.
Yeah, he's right. I mean, this is the point to make, because this is not just, by the way, long-term political consequences. You see it happening already. As you get more news, like what happened with Anthem this week, you already see Democrats, they're developing new talking points. They are out there saying, look, all of this problem you see in the healthcare market, it isn't because of Obamacare. It's because of the uncertainty that is being caused by Republicans not doing anything in terms of their reform on the healthcare bill. So there is an urgency for them to get something out and send a message to the markets to help calm things before this message gets dug in with the left and the public.
All right. Rand Paul, Kentucky senator, looks like he's not going to vote for anything here. So that just gives one vote to spare. Really narrow margin for McConnell, because Democrats have decided they're going to try to oppose everything that Trump does.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot at risk right here. And, you know, the Republicans are trying to do something on the substance. One of the most interesting things is they would like to move responsibility for Medicaid out into the states. And there are some interesting things going on.
With some still federal funding.
With some federal funding.
Substantial federal funding.
But the states are already trying to experiment with Medicaid. Just this week, the Nevada legislature passed a bill that would allow people in Nevada to pay to get into Medicaid if they wanted to. Either use Obamacare credits or your own money if that's what you want to do. I think it was a bad idea, but it sounds like an interesting experiment. Indiana allows people to put aside money who are on the poverty line to buy their own private insurance. It's been working very well in Indiana. So I think the Republicans have something they can argue on behalf of, that the states are better equipped to handle something this complex.
Joe, and in the bill that McConnell's putting together, it's not going to be as conservative as the House bill, but it's going to have substantial conservative victories in terms of substantial tax cuts, devolution of the entitlement, the most substantial reform of Medicaid in a long time, maybe ever, and significant reform of the exchanges. The question is, will conservatives accept that as enough?
Yeah, that is the big question. Are they going to decide to govern, to make directional progress on their policy goals, or try to defeat this? I think that's a real question. When you had the House bill come out first, the right hit it hard. They're going to have to, I think, be more pragmatic in this case to have any hope of a forward advance.
All right, Joe, thank you. When we come back, President Trump unveils a plan to privatize America's air traffic control system, what it could mean for your future flights.
It's the Phillips lady.
Anyone ever have occasional constipation, diarrhea, gas, or bloating?
She does.
Help defend against those digestive issues. Take Phillips Colon Health Probiotic Caps daily with 3 types of good bacteria. 400 likes? Wow. Try Phillips Colon Health.
At our Super Tuesday sale, save up to 70% on almost everything. With suits, just $1.99. All Traveler shirts, 3 for $99. Traveler twill pants, 2 for $99. Plus an extra 40% off all clearance. Only at Joseph A. Bank.
Yeah, at first I thought it was just the stress of moving.
Hey, I was using that.
Think we own stock in the electric company? I will turn this car around right now.
There's nobody back there.
I was becoming my father.
It's been an adjustment, but we're making it work. You know, Progressive.com makes it easy for us to get the right home insurance.
Progressive can't protect you from becoming your parents, but we can protect your home and auto.
Comey, an admitted leaker.
I needed to get that out into the public square.
How will the Trump administration respond? Answers on The Story, Monday.
At Southern New Hampshire University, we traveled across the country to celebrate the success of our online students who couldn't attend graduation.
Thank you guys for giving me the chance again. It's something that I worked for a long time.
Because we believe student success is success worth celebrating.
Who did you get this degree for? I got it for me.
I did this for my mom.
I did it for you, bud.
Congratulations, Daddy.
Find your online graduate or undergraduate program today at snhu.edu.
If you've got a life, you got a Swiffer.
You love your property, but you've had it with ugly brush piles, with hauling weeds, leaves, and sticks off your lawn. Finally, there's a fast, affordable way to recycle all your organic yard waste. Introducing the new DR Chippers, now starting at an unbelievably low price. Chew up big branches that come down in storms, and all the lighter trimmings from your yard and garden. Reduce it all into attractive wood chips for landscaping and organic mulch to enrich your soil. Stop moving yard waste around your property. Call now to lock in special pricing on your new DR Chipper, starting at just $799.99.
For a free buyer's guide and DVD, call 1-800-422-1869. Learn how you can get free shipping and pay as low as $27 a month. Your satisfaction is guaranteed with our 6-month trial, so call now 1-800-422-1869. Online at drchipper.com.
Today we're proposing to take American air travel into the future, finally. We're proposing reduced wait times, increased route efficiency, and far fewer delays. Our plan will get you where you need to go more quickly, more reliably, more affordably, and yes, for the first time in a long time, on time.
That was President Trump on Monday, kicking off what the White House dubbed Infrastructure Week. The president unveiling a plan to privatize the nation's air traffic control system, spinning it off from the government-run Federal Aviation Administration to a nonprofit. A move the administration says will make air travel safer and more efficient. Robert Poole is director of transportation policy at the Reason Foundation. He has advised 4 presidential administrations. Welcome, Mr. Poole. Good to have you here. So a lot of Americans think that air travel, the experience is getting worse. What role does the air traffic control system play in that deterioration?
Well, the air traffic control system is behind the times in terms of its technology. It does not offer the same kind of advanced technologies that enable planes to fly closer together safely and therefore get better use out of the airspace. And so customer-driven, responding to the real needs of its aviation customers, that would be a very high priority. They'd be working on that right now.
Okay, but the FAA surely knows this technology exists. Global positioning system technology is not new. It's been around for a long time. Why does the FAA have such a hard time implementing these kinds of advances?
That's a number of reasons. One, they can't do revenue bond financing of large-scale procurements, because they have to operate on annual allocations from Congress, unlike the air traffic corporations in 60 other countries. Secondly, they have a god-awful procurement system. Some members of Congress, some Democrats, have said it's even worse than the Department of Defense's procurement system.
That's saying something.
It takes forever to build things, to design things, build things, and get them out in the field. By many of these cases, by the time something hits the field, not only does it not work right the first time, but it's about 15 years past when they started defining it, and it's no longer even state-of-the-art.
Okay, so the question is, you mentioned 60-some countries have something like this. I mean, so this move to a nonprofit has been tried by other countries. What's the experience, for example, in Canada?
Well, Canada is one of the best examples. Canada it's 20 years old now, NAV Canada, completely supported by user payments. It's basically a utility run as a user co-op with the stakeholders from aviation on the governing board.
Right.
No micromanagement by the Canadian Parliament, and it issues revenue bonds, has an investment-grade bond rating, and it has technology that puts the FAA to shame. They have digital pilot controller messaging across the country and across the entire North Atlantic, which we don't have yet and won't have for another 8 years on a nationwide basis. They're putting in global satellite surveillance through an entity that they've created called Arion, that 70% of the world's surface doesn't have radar. So planes are just, off there, and they have to have huge buffer zones around them because the controllers don't know exactly where they are. But with satellite-based surveillance, starting in 2018, we'll know exactly where they are over the ocean, just like we know over land. Yet the FAA itself has not signed up to subscribe to this, even though the FAA has responsible for huge amounts of oceanic airspace.
So the opponents of this, one of the questions they raise is, well, what about safety? If you're going to fly these planes closer together, you're going to take risks. If you're not going to have, you're going to rely on technology. Isn't there a danger, a greater safety risk to passengers? What's your response?
The response to that is the United States is the one that's in a high-risk operation because we don't have transparency between safety regulation and service provisions. The International Civil Aviation Organization in 2001 said these two functions, safety regulation and ATC service provision, should be at arm's length organizationally. The United States is one of the few countries in the whole world that has not made that separation, and that's one of the reasons why 60 countries over the last 30 years have separated the two organizationally.
Okay, if this is such a great idea, and I think I like it. I've been supporting this for 20. We've been supporting this at the Journal for more than 20 years. Why is there so much opposition to this in politically? Why is it been so hard?
Yeah. A lot of this is a turf battle. Members of Congress really enjoy having the ability to direct, tell the FAA what to do and what not to do. One of the problems, for example, is the FAA has over 500 facilities around the country, not only control towers, but 20 big centers that control high-altitude flights spread across the country. With today's technology, they could probably do that with 3 or 4 that would be completely backing up each other. And yet, you can't, it's almost impossible to close facilities that in somebody's district. And so you get these kind of parochial concerns that prevent the kind of modernization that we really should have, and that other countries with air traffic corporations are doing. Australia's done this, Germany's done this, the UK has done it.
Okay, so let's hope we can break the gridlock. Thank you for being here. We have to take one more break. When we come back, hits and misses of the week.
Constipated? Fleet Liquid Glycerin is delivered straight to the source, so it delivers constipation relief in as little as 15 minutes. Dulcolax oral tablets can take 6 hours to work. Fleet Liquid Glycerin Suppositories, the start of fast relief.
It's okay that everybody ignores me when I drive. It's fine, because I get a safe driving bonus check every 6 months I'm accident-free. Because I don't use my cell phone when I'm driving, even though my family does and leaves me all alone. Here's something else. I don't share it with Mom. I don't. Right, Mom? I have a brand new putter you don't even know about. It's awesome.
Safe driving bonus checks only from Allstate.
Sometimes I leave the seat up on purpose.
Switching to Allstate is worth it.
I'm Chris, and I lost 120 pounds on Nutrisystem.
Listen up, guys. Want to shed a few pounds? Got a beer belly going on? Can't fit into your pants? Then you need Nutrisystem for men.
I'm Essex, and I lost 43 pounds on Nutrisystem.
I'm Trevor, and I lost 60 pounds on Nutrisystem.
Lose 15 pounds and 7 inches in your first month. Lose weight fast. Money back guarantee. Real guys, real results.
I'm Michael, and I lost 50 pounds on Nutrisystem.
Put down the pie, pick up the phone, and get with the program today. Get 1 week of all new Nutri-Crush bars free and 1 week of Turbo Shakes free.
The food was delicious.
If you're like me and you like to eat, this is what you get to do.
This is perfect for men, especially guys who don't want to cook.
So get off the couch, call or go online in the next 2 minutes, and we'll even throw in FedEx shipping. Free! Lose 15 pounds and 7 inches in your first month.
It's not that hard. You eat the food, you lose the weight.
Go online or call 888-605-SIZE to get Nutrisystem for Men with bars and shakes free.
Hello. Let's go for a ride on a Peloton. Let's go grab a couple thousand friends and chase each other up a hill. Let's go make a personal best, then beat it with your personal better than best. Let's go bring the world's best instructors right to you. Better yet, let's go bring the entire New York studio live. Let's go anytime, anywhere, with anyone who's willing. And let's go do it all right here. Ready to go? Peloton.
Flavors, colors, or sweeteners, plus 10 grams of protein and 25 vitamins and minerals.
It doesn't get better than this.
Boost Simply Complete.
Time now for our hits and misses of the week. So, Rob, start us off.
A hit, Paul, to Nikki Haley, the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, this week issued a statement saying the U.S. will no longer tolerate bullying of Israel at the United Nations. This is a welcome break from the Obama administration, which had either tolerated or in some cases shamefully joined in with the UN jackals who try to use the UN forum to distract from their own despotic records and beat up on the world's sole Jewish state. So this was one of those reasons to cheer the Trump administration and the dramatic foreign policy break that it represents with its predecessor.
All right, Sohrab, thanks. Kim.
A hit, Paul, to Michael Bloomberg, whose philanthropic arm said it would be sending $15 million to the UN to make up for money lost from Trump withdrawing from the Paris Accord. I love this model. We have all of these billionaires and celebrities who have their pet causes but expect taxpayers to pay for it. This way, everyone wins. They get to ease their conscience, the UN gets the money, taxpayers keep their dollars.
All right.
Hooray.
Kim, Joe.
Another hit, this one for the Secretary of the Interior, Ryan Zinke, who took the first steps this week to delist the greater sage grouse as a protected species. This is basically a glorified chicken. It's not endangered. It's not adorable, but the Obama administration used it as a pretext for land management plans that lock up about 60 million acres out west. No development whatsoever. This is a victory for rationality over political environmentalism.
And Dan.
Paul, I've got a hit for one of the Democratic Party's greatest villains, the U.S. energy industry. It's been reported that the United States is now exporting 1 million barrels of oil a day. I mean, there was a time when tankers would come from the Middle East to Texas, unload the oil, and go back empty. They are now filled with American oil, dropping it off in Europe. This is a great story of American innovation and entrepreneurship, and we should hail it.
Thank you all. That's it for this week's show. Thanks to my panel. Thank you for watching. I'm Paul Gigot. We hope to see you right here next week.
Hello and welcome to a brand new hour inside America's News Headquarters. I'm Arthel Neville.
And I'm Greg Jarrett in for Eric Shaw. Top of the news this hour, one blockbuster hearing now in the books. Yet another one is on the way as Attorney General Jeff Sessions is set to appear before the Senate Intelligence Committee on Tuesday.
Festivities in the streets of New York City with the annual Puerto Rican Day Parade, but there is controversy along with celebration over the honoring of a convicted terrorist.
And the Pentagon confirming that 3 Americans killed in Afghanistan died at the hands of yet another green on blue attack. As the Taliban infiltrate the Afghan army, America's News Headquarters begins right now. We start with very strong words from President Trump today, firing back at former FBI Director James Comey. The president blasting Comey's statements about a series of memos that were leaked to the media, questioning whether those leaks were legal and calling Comey cowardly. Kristen Fisher is live from Bedminster, New Jersey, where the president has been spending the weekend at, of course, his golf club there. Hi, Kristen.
Hey, Kelly, well, it's been 3 days since Comey's testimony, but President Trump is still coming out swinging. He said this morning on Twitter, quote, "I believe the James Comey leaks will be far more prevalent than anyone ever thought possible. Totally illegal, very cowardly." Now, this morning, the new chairwoman of the RNC, Ronnie Romney McDaniel, she was also very critical of Comey's own admission that he was the one who leaked his memos to the press.
I think it shows how questionable his character is, that he would take conversations that he had with the President of the United States, which should be protected under executive privilege, and then he gave them to a friend to leak to the New York Times. I think it proves that the President made the right choice in firing Director Comey.
Now, Comey testified on Thursday under oath that the president had said, "I hope you can let this go. I hope you can let the Flynn investigation go." The president insisted the next day, though, that he never said that. But last night on Fox, in an interview that was taped on Thursday, so before that Rose Garden press conference with the president, Donald Trump Jr. seemed to contradict his father by saying this.
When he tells you to do something,
yes.
Guess what? There's no ambiguity in it. There's no, hey, I'm hoping. You and I are friends. Hey, I hope this happens, but you got to do your job. That's what he told Comey.
So he says his father did tell Comey, I hope you can let this go, while President Trump says he did not say that. So we'll have to read into that what you will. So while all of Washington remains fixated on these investigations, the White House is pushing forward with several new policy initiatives. You know, remember last week was Infrastructure Week? Well, this week is going to be Workforce Development Week. On Tuesday, President Trump will travel with his daughter Ivanka to Milwaukee to talk about vocational training and apprenticeships. Then he'll be delivering what the White House is calling a major policy speech at the Department of Labor on Wednesday. And then on Friday, he's off to Miami to unveil his administration's new policy towards Cuba. One more thing. There's been a lot of back and forth in the press today about President Trump possibly postponing a trip to the UK. The Guardian reported that President Trump had called the British Prime Minister to say that he didn't want to go forward with this trip if there were going to be any large-scale protests planned. But this afternoon, several senior administration officials are downplaying that report by saying, quote, this subject has not come up on any recent calls.
All
and
right.
Greg, I'm going to toss it back to you, not Kelly. My apologies.
No problem. Kristen Fisher, thanks.
All right, Greg. Well, meanwhile, the Pentagon now investigating what is being described as an insider attack in eastern Afghanistan. 3 American soldiers killed, another wounded, and the Taliban claiming responsibility, saying it infiltrated the Afghan army to carry out the attack. Connor Powell is live now from our Mideast Bureau with more. Connor?
Arthel, in the last decade or so, there have been more than 90 of these so-called insider attacks where Afghan troops turn their weapons on the international coalition that has been in Afghanistan. These insider attacks have had a huge dent on international morale there, trying to help the Afghan community and the military there rebuild the army in the country. It really goes to the heart of the problem there that in order to build the Afghan military, you need a lot of foreign troops there to train, but they can't successfully train if they're always scared about whether or not they're going to be attacked by the Afghan troops. And as a result, we've seen a real decrease in the capabilities of the Afghan military here in the last few years as the U.S. military has pulled out and as the international community has sort of drawn out as well. This comes as the Trump administration is looking at whether or not they should send more U.S. troops to Afghanistan to help with the security situation there. It really has been worsening in the last year or two. The Taliban have gained control of several key districts in the southern part of the country. And the Trump administration is looking whether or not to send 5,000 or so more troops there. The question, though, Arthel, is what would they do there? Would they be part of this counterterrorism operation going out with Afghan troops? Will they be part of the training mission there? That has yet to be decided, and this is sort of what the Trump administration is looking at. But when you have a situation where 3 U.S. soldiers have been killed over the weekend, it does really put a dent into the idea that the U.S. can go in there with several thousand more troops and successfully train the Afghan army. But of course, if the U.S. troops don't go there to train the Afghan army, we will continue likely to see this deterioration of the security situation there. So it's a really tough situation that the Trump administration finds itself in. Send more troops and run the risk of additional and growing U.S. casualty there, or don't send troops and maybe the security situation decreases there even more. Arthel?
A perplexed situation for sure. Connor Powell. Thank you, Connor.
Getting now some new information on the London Bridge attackers. British police saying 3 terrorists wore fake suicide belts as they carried out their deadly rampage and may have planned on taking hostages. Mike Tobin is live from the London Bureau with more. Mike?
Hey there, Greg. Images of those fake bomb belts splattered with blood are the latest bits of evidence were released by London police in the wake of the London attack 1 week ago. These fake belts are not sophisticated at all. They amount to disposable water bottles wrapped in duct tape, secured with a leather belt. Each of the 3 attackers was wearing a fake suicide belt when they jumped out of the van used in the attack and began slashing people in the Borough Market area of London. Investigators say the belts were to maximize fear. They speculate they they may have been intended to help with hostage taking. They may have been intended to cause hesitation before the attackers were shot. Now, yesterday, police released images of petrol bombs or Molotov cocktails that were left in the attacker's van. Those were very real. It's not clear why those were not used in the attack. And we're hearing from one of the first Metropolitan Police officers who responded to the scene. Inspector Jim Cole tells a harrowing tale of setting up a cordon to keep people from coming into the market, then sending a medic into the basement of a pub for triage.
A gentleman had been stabbed in the stomach. He was taken downstairs to see the medic. And at that point, there were still shots ringing out, and then a stream of people came out of the market, running and screaming. So we literally just pushed them into the basement of the pub. I knew it was quite a big venue, and it seemed like the safest place to put a large volume of people at that time, so it was out of harm's way.
3 days later, there was an attack in France. We've got video of the hammer-wielding man who attacked a French police officer outside the Notre Dame Cathedral. The video went public as the case of Farid Aiken is now in court. There is no indication that the two attacks are linked. A Paris prosecutor says the 40-year-old student from Algeria was self-radicalized, and he had the profile of a neophyte. Aiken's charges, roughly translated from French law, amount to attempted murder of a police officer in connection with a terrorist enterprise and conspiracy. Greg, back to you.
All right, Mike Tobin live in London. Mike, thank you.
All right, Greg. Well, a day of cultural celebration shrouded in controversy as organizers of the annual Puerto Rican Day Parade here in New York City honor a convicted terrorist. And all of this as Puerto Rico is holding a major referendum that could lead to statehood. Brian Yennis is live at the parade with more. Brian?
Hi, Arthel. Well, yeah, a complicated and controversial scene here today at the 60th Annual Puerto Rican Day Parade. Oscar Lopez Rivera going down Fifth Avenue in a beautiful parade on a float, a convicted terrorist, and, of course, Mayor Bill de Blasio behind him. Even though there was pressure for him to boycott this parade, he did show up today as well. Now, Lopez Rivera was one of the known leaders of the FALN, a terrorist organization known as the Armed Forces of Independence. The Armed Forces of National Liberation. It's a paramilitary group that is blamed for about 120 bombings across the United States in the 70s and in the 80s. Their goal was to gain independence for Puerto Rico as a socialist government. And in 1981, Oscar Lopez Rivera was convicted of seditious conspiracy against the U.S. government, the transportation of firearms, and as well as explosives. He was sentenced to 70 years in prison, but he served 36 years of that, and President Obama commuted Lopez Rivera's sentence in January. Now, Lopez Rivera was never charged with any specific violent crime, but as the leader of the FALN, he was accused of being a bomb maker. The group's deadliest bomb was the 1975 blast of the Francis Tavern in New York City, which killed 4 people, including Frank Connor, who's the father of Joe Connor. And Joe Connor was absolutely outraged that New York City would allow this man to march down Fifth Avenue. Listen.
To think that Oscar Lopez would be considered a hero and a hero of freedom, it's just so insane. You can't even get your head around it.
Now, the Puerto Rican Day Parade lost half of its floats. Big-time corporate sponsors also boycotted once word came that Lopez Rivera would be honored. And Governor Andrew Cuomo decided not to come, as well as Senator Chuck Schumer. But as noted, Mayor Bill de Blasio was here today. The Puerto Rican Parade Committee decided to honor Oscar Lopez Rivera with the National Freedom Hero Award. It's the first of its kind. Now, Oscar Lopez Rivera decided not to accept that award based on all the pressure, but still, the Puerto Rican Day Parade Committee, well, they stand by their decision to award him. They released a statement that says some people will call him a terrorist, while others think of him as a freedom fighter, as was the case with Nelson Mandela. Nevertheless, Oscar's participation is not an endorsement of the history that led to his arrest, nor any form of violence, but rather recognition of a man and a nation's struggle for sovereignty sovereignty. We saw mixed emotions in the crowd as he went by. Some people cheered, others did not. All of this happening on the same day that Puerto Rico is having the referendum vote in which they decide, a non-binding vote in which they decide on the island whether or not they want to remain a U.S. territory, become a state, or gain independence, which is something that Lopez Rivera was fighting for his entire life, so he says. Arthel?
Brian Yennis, thank you, Brian.
Well, a small plane crashes going down in a remote area of a national forest, forcing a difficult search and rescue mission. We'll have details next.
And another big week on Capitol Hill with Attorney General Jeff Sessions due to take the hot seat. What we can expect from his appearance before the Senate Intelligence Committee, that is straight ahead.
You totaled your brand new car. Nobody's hurt, but there will still be pain. It comes when your insurance company says they'll only pay 3/4 of what it takes to replace it. What are you supposed to do? Drive 3/4 of a car? Now, if you had Liberty Mutual new car replacement, you'd get your whole car back. I guess they don't want you driving around on 3 wheels. Smart.
With Liberty Mutual new car replacement, we'll replace the full value of your car. Liberty stands with you. Liberty Mutual Insurance.
I used to handwrite lists to find out which website had my ideal hotel for the cheapest. Just scribbling all my options underneath each other. Well, Trivago does exactly that for me, saving me lots of time and money. Hotel? Trivago.
When you schedule with SafeLight Auto Glass, you get a text when we're on our way. You can see exactly when we'll arrive. I'm Micah with SafeLight.
Thanks for coming. It's right over here.
Giving you a few more minutes for what matters most. Take care.
SafeLight Repair, SafeLight Replace.
A lot of Western people don't know much about you. We'd like to know about your background and where you came from. People say Trump is in the Kremlin's pocket. Why did Russia hack the election?
The Putin Interviews, a 4-night event only on Showtime. Start your free trial now.
I'm Ryan, and I quit smoking with Chantix. I tried to quit cold turkey. I tried to quit with patch. That didn't work.
Along with support, Chantix Varenicline is proven to help people quit smoking.
For me, Chantix worked. It reduced my urge to smoke.
Compared to the nicotine patch, Chantix helps significantly more people quit smoking. When you try to quit smoking, with or without Chantix, you may have nicotine withdrawal symptoms. Some people had changes in behavior or thinking, aggression, hostility, agitation, depressed mood, or suicidal thoughts or actions with Chantix. Serious side effects may include seizures, new or worse heart or blood vessel problems, sleepwalking, or allergic and skin reactions, which can be life-threatening. Stop Chantix and get help right away if you have any of these. Tell your healthcare provider if you've had depression or other mental health problems. Decrease alcohol use while taking Chantix. Use caution when driving or operating machinery. The most common side effect is nausea.
I'm so proud to be a non-smoker.
Ask your doctor if Chantix is right for you. Many insurance plans cover Chantix for a low or $0 copay.
An Obama cover-up? A stunning new report in the case of slain Border Patrol officer Brian Terry. His family speaks out exclusively to Jesse. Plus, the Comey fallout tonight.
The sun used to make our outdoor deck and patio space so hot and uncomfortable we couldn't use it.
But then we discovered the Sunsetter retractable awning. Our Sunsetter retractable awning opens and closes in just 60 seconds. It keeps our patio about 20 degrees cooler.
It provides instant shade and instant protection from the sun's harmful rays.
And our Sunsetter costs under $700.
But now you can get your Sunsetter for as little as $599 when you call now to get this special $200 discount certificate and free awning idea kit.
We love our Sunsetter retractable awning, and you're going to love yours too.
Sunsetter awnings are assembled in America and guaranteed to last for years. So call now to get this free awning idea kit with DVD, plus your $200 Sunsetter discount certificate.
But this is a limited time offer.
Call now.
Call now for your free awning idea kit with DVD and $200 discount certificate. There's no obligation.
Welcome back to a quick check of the headlines. Residents in one northern Illinois neighborhood jolted awake early this morning when a house suddenly exploded, destroying 2 other homes, damaging a dozen more. Firefighters say they think a gas leak is to blame and that the houses appear to have been empty. No injuries reported. The 31-year-old pilot rescued after a small plane crashed in a national forest in Southern California last night. He suffered injuries to his lower body. Investigators still looking into why the plane went down. And a 20-foot sinkhole, look at this, opens up right in the middle of a busy shopping center parking lot. That was near Orlando. It swallowed up that car, as you can see. Thankfully, the car was empty. Officials say torrential rains are to blame.
I want to know, is it true what Comey said? Did you create an atmosphere there that people believed that you could not fairly render judgment on the president's interactions with Comey? I want to hear from Loretta Lynch. Did you say, please call it a matter, not an investigation?
Senator Lindsey Graham voicing his concerns ahead of the next big hearing on Capitol Hill. Attorney General Jeff Sessions agreeing to go before the Senate Intelligence Committee Tuesday, just days after the blockbuster testimony of former FBI Director James Comey. And as for the other end of Pennsylvania Avenue, Senator Graham saying that President Trump is not helping his cause. Take a look.
But here's what's so frustrating for Republicans like me. You may be the first president in history to go down because you can't stop inappropriately talking about an investigation that, if you just were quiet, would clear you. It's frustrating for me to want to help a man who I think will do big things.
Judy Miller is here. She's an adjunct fellow at the Manhattan Institute for Policy Research, a Pulitzer Prize-winning author and journalist, and a Fox News contributor. Judy, good to have you.
Nice to be there.
Very good. So let's start now with Attorney General Sessions. At first, you know, as you well know, he was set to appear before a Senate Appropriations Committee to discuss the Department of Justice budget, but he was concerned that Democratic lawmakers would hijack the situation to probe Mr. Sessions about Russia. So Mr. Sessions thought it best to testify under oath in a closed session before the Senate Intel Committee. Did Mr. Sessions make the right choice, and what will be his goal, Judy?
Well, I think that depends, Arthel, on whether or not the session turns out to be actually open or closed. The Intelligence Committee has not yet told us whether or not they are going to hear from the Attorney General under those circumstances. What we do know is that Senator Pat Leahy and other members of the Appropriations Committee who actually asked Mr. Sessions about his contacts with the Russians are very angry that they're not going to have a chance to go back at him to ask him why he was not truthful with them, or whether or not he actually forgot these meetings. And we know there were two. There may have even been a third. We're not sure. So there's kind of bad will, and ever-growing bad will among Senate Democrats because of Attorney General Sessions' determination to testify before a forum which he thinks is obviously going to be friendlier to him than the Appropriations Committee would be.
But is he right in thinking that?
Well, look, I think he's clearly going to do what is in his own interest, or what he perceives to be in his own interest, because, as you know, Attorney General Sessions is really fighting for his political life. This is a man who gave up a safe Senate seat to endorse Donald Trump and then to accept a senior position in his administration. He was originally rumored to be under consideration for vice president. That didn't happen. He wound up with the Attorney General post, and then he had a huge altercation, apparently, with President Trump once he recused himself because of his misstatements of fact about his meetings with the Russians. So he is really in a very difficult position and really needs to pick the friendliest forum he can find.
Judy, I want to get to two more points before we close our conversation here. Regarding the inquiry into Hillary Clinton's personal email server, Mr. Comey testified Thursday as well that then Attorney General Lynch asked the then FBI director to call it a, quote, matter, not an investigation. And as a result, you heard Senator Graham saying that Ms. Lynch should testify before the Senate Judiciary Committee. Should she? And has the Attorney General's position become politically compromised?
You know, I think it would behoove the nation to have Ms. Lynch, now a private citizen, testify in public. I think everybody in this point involved in these kinds of charges needs to lay out the facts instead of just relying on reports and he said, she said, allegations, I think we need each of the major players in the past 2 years of drama to kind of lay out the facts, tell us their side of the story so that the American people can make an independent judgment. Now, there is not, as far as I know, an open investigation into Hillary Clinton's emails, and therefore Loretta Lynch has no personal vulnerability or legal jeopardy by testifying, unlike Attorney General Sessions, who may really have a problem if it's perceived that he lied to the Senate about his contacts with the Russians. So the standards are different, but yes, let's just hear from these players. I mean, let's stop pussyfooting around here. Say what you have to say, be open and honest with the American people, and let the people decide.
Meanwhile, finally, Judy, Senator Graham is also saying thus far Mr. Comey's testimony is not damaging to the president, yet the president's own tweets get in the way of anything getting done in Washington. Can anything or anyone stop President Trump from tweeting?
Well, apparently not. I mean, he restrained himself, or was restrained, we don't know, during Comey's testimony. There were radio silence in the tweet department, but, you know, we saw that only lasted a few days. President Trump just had to weigh in and say that, in his view, Comey was not telling the truth, that he was a coward for leaking this information. I don't know. I mean, short of just taking away the president's cell phone, I don't know what you're going to do to stop him from undermining his own administration and getting in the way of his administration's narrative.
Well, we have to leave it there. Judy Miller, always nice to talk to you. Thank you.
Right.
Take care.
Good to talk to you as well.
Well, the Comey and Sessions hearings coming as Senate Republicans try to go about the business of implementing the president's agenda. Lawmakers still working on a bill to repeal and replace Obamacare. Conservatives also pushing for tax and immigration reform. Ellison Barber has more from our Washington bureau. Ellison.
Congress is trying to tackle a significant legislative to-do list, and time is not on their side. The list includes big items like tax reform, the debt ceiling, immigration reform, and, of course, health care. Vice President Mike Pence says Democrats are, quote, blinded by partisanship when it comes to the Affordable Care Act.
They're the ones that gave us Obamacare. And now, as your congressman will tell you, they won't lift a finger to help us rescue the American people from this mess that they created.
Republicans say they want to vote on something soon. On a radio show, Senate Majority Whip John Cornyn promised a vote by the end of July. Democrats say Republicans need their help.
To do this in private, without hearings, without amendments, it would be one of the most outrageous examples of legislative malpractice in decades.
Some say the president's agenda is simply taking too long. But on Fox News Sunday, the chair of the RNC pushed back on the criticism.
Healthcare, tax reform, infrastructure, these are huge issues. They don't just happen overnight. We're 5.5 months in. The House has already passed a repeal and replace of Obamacare. We're going to continue to work at that. But this just doesn't quickly happen. And Republicans are doing it the right way. We're going back into our districts. We're talking to constituents. We're having a diverse discussion. We're making sure that when we do it right.
On Wednesday, the Senate moved forward with legislation to place sanctions on Iran, but the bill is not necessarily finalized. Senators are also talking about adding an amendment to sanction Russia. Greg?
Ellison Barber, thanks very much.
The U.S. military carrying out new airstrikes in Somalia, now targeting al-Shabaab militants. How this could signal a shift in U.S. foreign policy.
And President Trump's attorney reportedly planning to take action against James Comey and file a complaint about his leaked memos. Does the president actually have any legal grounds for this? Our legal panel is here to debate it.
Hi, so I just got off the phone with our Allstate agent, and I know that we have accident forgiveness. So the incredibly minor accident that I had tonight.
4 weeks without the car.
Okay, yep, good night.
With accident forgiveness, your rates won't go up just because of an accident. Switching to Allstate is worth it.
I'm really into this car, but how do I know if I'm getting a good deal? I tell TrueCar my zip and which car I want, and
Fast. Viking's elegant ships deliver a superb, inclusive experience with enriching shore excursions, alternative dining, all veranda staterooms, Wi-Fi, and more. Discover for yourselves why Travel and Leisure readers voted Viking the world's #1 ocean cruise line. Learn more at vikingoceancruises.com.
Do you tell yourself, today's the day, I'm gonna lose the weight, but nothing changes? Well, today's the day. Just call Nutrisystem.
I'm Brian, and I've lost 75 pounds on Nutrisystem.
I'm Chris, and I lost 120 pounds on Nutrisystem.
Lose 15 pounds and 7 inches overall in your first month. Lose weight fast. Money back guarantee.
I got to eat my favorite food. I got to eat, and I got to eat a lot.
Nutrisystem for Men is the real deal, with real food that gets real results. Order your 28-day program right now and get all new Nutri-Crush bars to crush cravings, free, and 1 week of turbo shakes to bust that gut, free.
Nutrisystem just gave me my life back.
These guys are just like you. They made the call and they got the results. Lose weight, boost energy, improve your health with Nutrisystem for Men. Call or go online in the next 2 minutes and we'll throw in FedEx shipping, free. Lose 15 pounds and 7 inches overall in your first month. Make the call now.
Go online or call 877-380-SIZE right now and get Nutrisystem for Men with bars and shakes free.
That's right. Keep rocking. SiriusXM's free listening event might be over, but you can turn us back on with packages starting for a limited time at just $5.99 a month plus fees. Just visit SiriusXM.com/GetSXM to keep hearing all the things that make you love taking the long way home. So visit SiriusXM.com/GetSXM or call 1-844-479-6669 to turn us back on and up.
This is an urgent message from the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews. There is an emergency food crisis for elderly Holocaust survivors in the former Soviet Union. These people live on pensions so small they must daily decide between buying bread or firewood to keep warm. For just $45, we'll rush an emergency survival package to help one desperate elderly person for a month. Call right now.
Call 800-477-5100.
In Ukraine, there's no support network. They don't have food cards or neighbors that come in to help. They're turning to us because they have nowhere else to turn.
God promises to bless those who bless Israel. May you be blessed as you bless his children.
Well, the U.S. military conducting an airstrike in Somalia. They were targeting the al-Qaeda affiliate al-Shabaab. This appears to be the first strike under a new White House policy allowing the U.S. to target extremists in Somalia. At least 8 terrorists were killed.
Attorney General Jeff Sessions getting ready to testify before the Senate Intelligence Committee on Tuesday to answer questions about whether Russia interfered in the U.S. election. Mr. Sessions' testimony follows former FBI Director James Comey's hearing last week, and it comes as a House committee tries to figure out whether there are recordings of Mr. Comey's conversations with President Trump. Garrett Tenney is live now from Washington to explain. Hi, Garrett.
Hey, Arthel, you got to remember there are going to be a lot of questions about Russia, but Jeff Sessions recused himself from the FBI's investigation, so he will be limited in what all he can say, and particularly given that it is an ongoing investigation. The reason, though, that Sessions wants to testify is that he wants to set the record straight regarding parts of James Comey's testimony on Thursday, particularly those that portrayed him in a bad light. Today on CBS's Face the Nation, Senator James Lankford, who sits on the Intelligence Committee, shared some of what he plans to ask Sessions about on Tuesday.
The key things we've got to get, obviously, his side of the story related to Jim Comey, some of the conversations that Jim Comey had with the president, where Jeff Sessions was a participant there, or at least was around, to be able to get the rest of the story. Comey's statement to him of, hey, I don't want to get time alone with the president again, and that interaction, as well as these accusations that are flying out there about conversations that he might or might not have had with Russians prior to the election.
And there is no shortage of congressional committees that are looking to hear from Sessions, including the Judiciary Committee, which oversees the Department of Justice. Senator Dianne Feinstein sits on both the Judiciary and Intelligence Committees. And today on CNN's State of the Union, she said after Comey's testimony, she has questions for both Sessions and former Attorney General Loretta Lynch, who allegedly told the FBI director to call the Clinton email investigation a matter rather than an investigation.
I would have a queasy feeling too, though, to be candid with you. I think we need to know more about that. And there's only one way to know about it, and that's to have the Judiciary Committee take a look at that.
And for now, Jeff Sessions is only set to appear before the Senate Intelligence Committee. And today, several senators of that committee indicated it is still unclear whether or not that hearing will be public on Tuesday.
Yep.
Marthel?
Okay, Garrett Tinney, we will be waiting to find out. Thank you. Greg?
New reports that President Trump's legal team is planning to file complaints this week about former FBI Director James Comey's leaked memos. President Trump's private attorney speaking out about the timing of those leaks and how it matches up with Comey's testimony.
Although Mr. Comey testified that he only leaked the memos in response to a tweet, the public record reveals that the New York Times was quoting from those memos the day before the referenced tweet, which belies Mr. Comey's excuse for this unauthorized disclosure of privileged information and appears to be entirely retaliatory.
Could also be perjury, lying to Congress. Joining me now, Keisha Hebbett, defense attorney, former prosecutor, Misty Maris, a trial attorney. Good to see you both. Misty, Comey testified that the memo he wrote about his conversation with the president was his personal property to do with as he pleases. That's not true, is it? Because the Federal Records Act and the records management regulations say anything you do in the course and scope of your employment is not yours, it's the government's.
Yeah, and that's the issue that Comey is going to have, especially given his testimony. And I think that's the avenue that Trump's attorneys are going to use, because otherwise, since it wasn't a confidential document, it wasn't classified information, they might not be able to bring these charges. But you make a great point, Greg. That wasn't his personal property.
I looked up the statute, Keisha. It's a crime to convert government property for your own use and then to, quote, steal, sell, or convey to someone outside of the government without authorization. Isn't that what Comey did? Isn't that a felony?
I disagree, and I feel that what he did was, it shows that he had no faith in the Justice Department's handling of what he felt special counsel
So you go to Congress.
pointed to. But what he did, it was not confidential, or it wasn't classified
Well, it's
information.
certainly confidential.
It wasn't classified.
We don't know that
and
yet.
It's in my opinion, it's constitutionally protected speech. It's a conversation about the president saying, I need you to be loyal, or I want you to do, or I hope this. I don't think that it's going to stand up to say that he actually committed some type of federal offense.
I'm not sure that Comey saying it's unclassified makes it unclassified. Seems to me you have to get the other party, the White House's permission, White House counsel, to review it and say, we'll agree to unclassify it or not.
Well, there's certainly, I mean, listen, this is a fishy situation, right? The fact that Comey is taking this conversation, his account of this conversation, making it public for seemingly political gain, because it's not positive about Trump, it's negative about Trump, right? And so now he's hiding behind the fact that it wasn't deemed a classified document. Like you said, Greg, whose determination is that? Is that his unilateral decision?
I just referred to 18 U.S.C. 641 is entitled leaking unclassified documents.
But I still don't think that's specific.
You can't convey it to another person without authorization. Who authorized
But
it?
that it's not specific enough. It wasn't a document that was generated by the government. It was his notes based
he was
on a
FBI
conversation.
director. He's the government.
Right, but we have to give him credit. He has to be smart enough to realize that what he did was. I
Really?
mean, come on. He did it because he wanted special
again
counsel.
and again, has he not, mangled and contorted the law in the Hillary Clinton case? Is a perfect example, isn't it?
Yeah, well, the question is, his credibility is questionable. So whether or not you think that he performed well on the stand is completely different about whether or not his account of what happened is actually the truth. I think that everybody is kind of treating Comey's testimony as gospel, but that's not true. That's one witness account of their perception of what happened during these conversations. And so I'm really interested to hear about that.
But then there's supposed to be tapes of this conversation.
If there's tapes, the tapes
but that's what President Trump said. But I don't think there are any tapes.
Robert Mueller is the special counsel. I looked up the law governing the special counsel. You may not serve if you have a conflict of interest. It identifies the conflict as a close relationship to a key witness. Isn't James Comey a key witness here? And my goodness, look at the relationship between Mueller and Comey. They were protege and mentor.
Yes, and we know that before Comey's testimony, they were closely coordinating, right? I mean, that came out. But the issue is that you're right, Mueller, he has to be. The person in that position has to truly be independent and without conflict.
So there's a process of appointing
Here's
special
what we
counsel.
have. We have Robert Mueller deciding the credibility of his protege versus the man who fired his protege. And the law also says not just a genuine conflict of interest, but the appearance of partiality is disqualifying.
But we all know as attorneys that there's a process in place to select that special counsel. I'm sure that all of this has been weighed and thought out.
I don't think it has.
There's no way that anyone in a position of authority is going to do something that's going to jeopardize the outcome of it.
Shouldn't Mueller have disqualified himself and said, I'm too close to James Comey? You know, agents at the FBI said they were joined at the hip.
Yes, well, here's the thing. One of the issues is you want the public perception. You want people to have faith in the process. If you have somebody who has that type of relationship with, let's face it, the star witness, the key witness, the only person other than Trump that's going to know about these conversations, if there's even the slightest bit of impropriety, you have to step down. It's absolutely critical.
Last question on obstruction. If you look up that statute, it says it must be a corrupt act. There are 5 things identified by the statute as a corrupt act: lies, threats, bribes, destroying documents, and altering evidence. Comey alleged none of those things. So under the statute, how can it be obstruction?
Well, Greg, I will give you credit with that. I don't think that his testimony is enough to say there's a clear case of obstruction of justice. It's ambiguous. He says that...
Ambiguous? It's not even close, is it?
No, I absolutely think that there is no way this is an obstruction of justice. I mean, his testimony was clear. You're talking about Trump's intent. You have to show that he intended to
But then he ends up being fired, so that goes to
the president has constitutional right to hire and fire anybody for a reason and no reason at all. We'll leave it at that. Guys, thank you very much.
Thank you, Greg.
Christy Maris, Keisha Hebben, Art.
Okay, Greg, very interesting. And when we come back, the Taliban claiming responsibility for the deadly attack in Afghanistan that killed 3 U.S. troops. Ahead, how the terror group says it managed to pull off yet another green on blue insider attack.
To folks everywhere whose diabetic nerve pain shoots and burns its way into your day, I hear you. When that pain makes simple errands simply unbearable, I hear you. I hear you because my dad struggled with this pain. Make sure your doctor hears you too. So folks, don't wait. Step on up and talk to your doctor because you have places to go and people who can't wait for you to get there. If you have diabetes and burning shooting pain in your feet or hands, step on up and talk to your doctor today.
Sarah is a 5th grade teacher. When it comes to molding young minds, nobody does it better. She also builds her own fighting robots. Destroy. But when it comes to mortgages, she's less confident. Fortunately for Sarah, there's Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. It's simple, so she can understand the details and be sure she's getting the right mortgage. Apply simply, understand fully, mortgage confidently.
What makes a house a home? Some say it's the traditions, or the ones you make them with. The marks on the wall, or the beautiful messes. And some say it's where you're truly Love.
We know every home is more than just a house. So trust Angie's List to help find top-rated pros for quality work, because your home is where our heart is.
Your brain is an amazing thing, but as you get older, it naturally begins to change, causing a lack of sharpness or even trouble with recall. Thankfully, the breakthrough in Prevagen helps your brain and actually improves memory. The secret is an ingredient originally discovered in jellyfish. In clinical trials, Prevagen has been shown to improve short-term memory. Prevagen, the name to remember.
If you love your dad, give him a meal that he'll truly appreciate. The Omaha Steaks Father's Day gift is filled with over $200 worth of great food for just $59.99. That's 70% off only on this special offer. The Omaha Steaks Father's Day gift includes either Omaha Steaks 4 juicy, tender 6-ounce filet mignons or a huge 30-ounce T-bone steak. Plus, you'll get 4 gourmet jumbo franks, 4 premium ground beef sliders, 4 creamy potatoes au gratin, and Omaha Steaks signature steak seasoning. Dessert is a decadent 2-pound New York cheesecake. Your order will be delivered straight to your home or the destination of your choice for the perfect gift. As a special thanks from us to you, if you order right now, we'll include 4 more premium Omaha Steaks ground beef sliders free. That's 8 total. The Omaha Steaks Father's Day gift, over a $200 value for just $59.99. Give Dad a gift he can appreciate. Give him the Father's Day gift from Omaha Steaks today.
We can't stay here.
Why?
Terrible toilet paper. I'll never get clean.
Way ahead of you.
Charmin Ultra Strong. It cleans better. It's 4 times stronger, and you can use less. Enjoy the go with Charmin.
When you have allergies, it can seem like triggers pop up everywhere. Luckily, there's powerful 24-hour non-drowsy Claritin. It provides relief of symptoms that can be triggered by over 200 different allergens. Live Claritin Clear.
I noticed it as soon as we moved into the new house. A lot of people have vertical blinds.
Well, if a lot of people jump off a bridge, would you? You hungry?
I'm okay, right?
I'm becoming my mother.
It's been hard, but some of the stuff he says is actually pretty helpful.
Getting bundling our home and auto insurance is a good deal. Like buying in bulk. That's fun, right?
Progressive can't protect you from becoming your parents, but we can protect your home and auto.
The Pentagon now confirming the deaths of 3 U.S. soldiers in eastern Afghanistan coming at the hands of a so-called green-on-blue attack, which means a friendly Afghan soldier turned his weapon on our troops. Another American soldier also injured. The Taliban claims it was one of their own who infiltrated the Afghan army and carried out that attack. Let's bring in retired Army Lieutenant Colonel Michael Waltz, former Green Beret commander, former counterterrorism advisor, Vice President Cheney, and author of Warrior Diplomat, also a Fox News contributor. Colonel, great to see you.
Great, thanks.
So this was an inside job by the Taliban. It's happened so many times before. In March, 3 U.S. soldiers were injured. Same thing.
Right.
How do we put a stop to this? Can it be stopped?
I don't know that you're ever going to stop it completely, Greg. You know, our main effort there is to embed small groups of advisors with Afghan security forces, with the Afghan army and the police and their commandos, to help them bolster their fighting and help bring in all of the support elements that we need, air support, medevac, and other pieces. So this tactic is one of the most effective things that the Taliban can do in terms of trying to turn us against each other, the coalition advisors, the American advisors, and our Afghan army counterparts, because it sows distrust, it drives wedges, and we have to be careful that we don't overreact and kind of play into the Taliban's hands. There are things that we can do to increase our vetting and kind of increase our understanding of when the Taliban's trying to infiltrate.
Right.
But again, we can't take it too far, because getting the Afghan army to the right place to be able to fight on its own is our main effort and how we're eventually going to leave.
Before this happened, there is a proposal still existing on the table to put in 5,000 more U.S. and coalition troops.
Right.
What do you make of that?
Well, I think that's the right thing to do. The general on the ground has asked for it. Again, these soldiers that would be going in are not soldiers. I want to be clear. They're not going to be kicking in doors and on the front line and pulling triggers. These are going to be more advisors and more trainers, which is exactly what the Afghans need. And they're, look, we need to be honest. They're going to need it for quite some time. They need those supporting efforts that only we can provide. But then, Greg, to put it in a broader strategic context, the Trump administration is also wrestling with how do we deal with Pakistan, the sanctuaries that the Taliban enjoy over there. No counterinsurgency in history has ever been effective when the enemy has a place to rest and refit. And I think we need to be honest with ourselves that we're going to be there quite some time, just like we were in Colombia for 40 years fighting the FARC, just like we were in South Korea for over 70 years and are still there today.
Well, we have, the American strategy has in part been to try to take out the Taliban leadership.
Yeah.
Decapitating the leadership has not, it seems, forced the Taliban to the negotiating table.
Right.
Why is that? And will taking out their leadership ever work? Because they seem to be able to replace them with no problem.
Well, keep in mind, and a lot of people, I think, question this, we have to keep the Taliban on their back foot, and that means keeping their leadership awake at night, whether a bomb is going to come through their window, just to be candid. Because if the Taliban take over Afghanistan again, you betcha that Al-Qaeda and ISIS are going to be in their wake. And once they have control of territory in Afghanistan, they're going to be plotting against the United States. To the specific tactic of targeting their leadership, look, their leadership enjoys sanctuary in the western parts of Pakistan. That's one of the reasons that we haven't really been able to get at them. And we have to do that in the short term. What we need to do in the longer term is get the Afghan government to a better place so that it can support its populace, and then also even a broader strategy that counters Islamic extremism and reduces these groups' ability to recruit. It's somewhat analogous to what we did against communism. Why can't communist terrorist groups recruit anymore? Well, because their ideology lacks credibility. And so there's the kind of the short term and then the long term.
Lieutenant Colonel Michael Waltz, thanks very much, sir. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Greg.
LGBT supporters joining pride marches in dozens of cities across the country today. What organizers are saying about the current political climate that has them worried for the LGBT community. We'll have a live report ahead.
If you have moderate to severe plaque psoriasis, isn't it time to let the real you shine through? Maybe it's time for Otezla, a Premolast. Otezla is not an injection or a cream. It's a pill that treats plaque psoriasis differently. With Otezla, 75% clearer skin is achievable after just 4 months, with reduced redness, thickness, and scaliness of plaques. And the Otezla prescribing information has no requirement for routine lab monitoring. Don't take Otezla if you're allergic to any of its ingredients. Otezla may increase the risk of depression. Tell your doctor if you have a history of depression or suicidal thoughts, or if these feelings develop. Some people taking Otezla reported weight loss. Your doctor should monitor your weight and may stop treatment. Side effects may include diarrhea, nausea, upper respiratory tract infection, and headache. Tell your doctor about all the medicines you take and if you're pregnant or planning to be. Ask your dermatologist about Otezla today. Otezla, show more of you.
New bike?
Yeah, because I got
Allstate. If you total your new bike, they replace it with a brand new one.
That's cool. I got a new helmet.
We know, Steve. It's good to be in good hands.
You don't let anything keep you sidelined. That's why you drink Ensure with 9 grams of protein and 26 vitamins and minerals. For the strength and energy to get back to doing what you love. Ensure.